At this spot, in spring 1969, David Olawale drowned in the River Aire in Leeds city centre. Originally assumed to be accidental, later it transpired that prior to his death, the Nigerian had been the victim of a vicious campaign of violence by 2 Leeds police officers. Now Olawale's story is being retold in a new book by Kester Aspden.
It came about by accident, really. I was researching another thing entirely, and just by accident I stumbled across the case files of this, the David Olawale story in the National Archives. I'd heard of the case, but I knew nothing really, just that a tramp had fallen in the river or been thrown in, and that he was black, and I knew nothing more. But finding the files, I thought, let's have a look at those, and turned out to be some pretty harrowing, explosive stuff in there, from the minute I looked at the photographs of the exhumation.
The author admits he was obsessed by the case for 3 years. A desire to give Olawale more respect in death than he had received in life inspired Kester's writing.
The picture of David Olawale that was presented at the trial of the 2 police officers charged with his manslaughter was of a dirty, filthy, violent vagrant, and those were the words of the judge. So I wanted to restore some humanity to his story. Strangely, it was only the Yorkshire Evening Post that seemed to give a humane picture of the man.
Yorkshire Evening Post Deputy News Editor Tony Harney was a young reporter on the paper when Olawale died.
The Evening Post ran a series of articles from friends of David Olawale and pressed for detailed inquiries about exactly what had gone on. I think a lot of people were distressed that in the middle of Leeds this had been allowed to happen, because it wasn't a one-off incident. This man had been systematically beaten and kicked by police officers. It's a fine book, and it puts together the views of people in Leeds at that period in time. And it's something that's needed writing for many years, because David Olawale was, while an insignificant man in many ways, his importance probably is that he set wheels into motion which now allow the police to properly investigate this kind of crime within their midst.
The new book is controversially titled Nationality Wog, The Hounding of David Olawale.
I got the idea for the title from a charge sheet I saw, and it related to David Olawale's arrest a month before he died in May '69, and on this charge sheet under the box for the prisoner's nationality, a policeman had typed in Wog, and that gave me my title. Inevitably, I think there'll be profound reactions of unease, but hopefully people will look by that title and see why I used it and see the context. On the cover of the book you can even see the background of the charge sheet, so it's there. And if it gets people talking about these issues, that's all I can hope for, really. I wanted to do what we didn't do in 1971, which is to really examine this case again, to say what it says about law, about homelessness, racism, how we treat the marginal people.
There are a lot of lessons to be learned from David Olawale's death, and people shouldn't make judgments about people. We should be more ready to help people, and if David Olawale had been helped in the years between 1949, when he left Nigeria and landed in this country, and the day in the spring of 1969 when somebody, I believe, put him in the River Aire, then we wouldn't be talking about the book, and we wouldn't be talking about David. Hopefully he'd be cured of the mental problems that he had, and he would be a member of the same society that we all live in.